Hey guys, and welcome to my Dark Knight guide for using a controller when playing Final Fantasy XIV. In game, I am Bryn Zalazar, and if you've followed the Gamer Escape website, you'll know me on the 8th Right Radio podcast, as well as I occasionally like to write my thoughts over there as well about the game and some of the features that I'd like to see included. But a while back, I made a Paladin guide with using a controller and and then go about my busy life and find that it's actually rather popular. And so I was like, well, I talked about making a tanking guide for Dark Knight, and so I wanted to do that here today. So we're going to talk about four things: kind of a hotbar layout setup that I got, a Hud layout, general tanking tips, some principles that I adhere to, and any kind of macros that I have configured there. So I'm obviously pretty still new to YouTube, so I will maybe try to figure out how to link the various sections in the video. If I'm successful, you'll be seeing them now. If I'm not, I will still be Googling and probably YouTubing other videos for that. But let's go ahead and get started with the hotbar layout that I have configured for my Dark Knight. So starting here on the left trigger, I've got Dark Dance, then I've got Dark Side, Blood Price, and Shadow Wall. And these, I don't, obviously, you go for Dark Knight if you're unfamiliar. You go into your Dark Knight stance, which is going to give you basically it'll drain your MP and increases your damage ratio. And if in PvP, it actually increases a bit more. So generally, it's good to have on. And if we need to talk about that, I'll make a separate video. But just generally focusing in on the controller. I'm going to go and turn that off so that the visual effects don't get annoying. From here, still on the left trigger, I've got what I call my buffed Dark Passenger. And that's a macro that we'll jump into a little bit later. I stack a couple abilities on that one. Here, I've got my buffs, which is a macro that combines a couple of my commonly used buffs together. And then right here, I've got low blow. Now, jumping forward to a general tip is that whenever playing any particular tank or any job in the game that has a stun, I actually always put the stun in the same location. So stunning an enemy is more muscle memory than it is any particular layout. And then down here at the bottom, I've got Reprisal, which is a great ability. It's triggered, and so I kind of have it there. And that's my general left-hand trigger side for the Dark Knight. Now, on the right-hand side, this is just where I primarily spend most of my time. So these are more reactionary as they cool down or as needed. These are where I spend the most time. So generally, I'm a player who ends up holding down the right trigger more frequently in that. And I'm actually going to start here at the bottom. So this is my what I call Dark Knight main. It's a macro, and I will highlight that here in a little bit. Basically, it puts plunge. It puts my Salted Earth. So it puts, I've got plunge here. So I have these up on my HUD so that I know when the cooldown's up. It puts it together so that with one button press, I'm doing a couple different things. Now, up and to the right, so if you look at this, this is my general hate building rotation. So I put same thing with my Paladin, same thing with my Warrior. Every hate building is always going to be from, and I'm using an Xbox One controller, it's A to B to Y. And that's always the general thing. Now, I put a couple of extra abilities in here just so that I can kind of stack a couple of different things. I put some PvP actions. I put a couple of little things in there as I'm playing just to help me out, and I'll show those in the macro section. So for hate building, if you think of, I guess, your standard slash to spinning slash to power slash, again, A, B, and Y. And then right here in what would be considered the X position, I have my Siphon Strike, and I've also kind of macroed that as well. And then Siphon Strike, from a combo perspective, can go to Soul Eater and can go to Delibrum. And so I've got those here as well. So it ends up being kind of an an AX, and then either an up or a left part of that combo. In the kind of the right D-pad position, I have Unleash, and then here on the bottom D-pad, I have Scourge. And so same thing for Paladin, same thing for Warrior. My AoE hate builder is always in the same position, as well as my main dot that I have for the tank is there as well. Now, that isn't complete because as always, you have an extra set of items by holding down the left trigger and then holding down the right trigger, and you can see that here right now. So in the same spot, I have Provoke, then I have Blood Weapon, followed by Sprint. So actually, got to take my hands off the keyboard and mouse and try to move this. So you can see I have Sprint over here. I have my Carve and Split for easy access if and when I need it. I've got Foresight for an added buff. I've got my my Dark, this says buff Dark Knight Passenger, but what this is Last Stand, and it's buffed in the sense that it has a message that goes out to everybody that I'm using it. I have Grit, which turns me on for my taking stance, and then we'll turn that off as well. And then I have Dark Arts as well. So what you'll see though is that for a lot of abilities and different combos that I kind of put Dark Arts in there, so I'm naturally using a lot of MP, and so I can talk about my rotation and how to refresh that here as well in a little bit. Anyway, okay, so that's my general hotbar layout. If you didn't see my Paladin guide, you'll know that my right trigger and left trigger is the same across everybody. I have that as a shared one, so I have markings. I can call out different minions, and I've got my my limit break, which as a tank, the only time I think I've ever really had the opportunity to use it where it made sense is once the fight was won and nobody used the limit break, so I go ahead and use it at that point. All right, so HUD layout. Not necessarily important. I guess the biggest tip is just find whatever works from a comfort level for you. You'll notice, and the two things that I'm going to point out the most is that since as a tank, I'm spending a lot of time kind of looking at, if you think of the system in this general area, kind of the square box in the center and the lower, I look a lot at these abilities, what's going on the screen, and I do have my enemy list. I'll just pull it out here. Here in the upper left hand, the middle left hand side, so that as I build enemies, I can kind of see them here all generally within this same area. Now, what is important to note is that I sold Salted Earth, Carve and Split, Soul Survivor, Plunge, and Dark Arts, kind of as 5 different abilities that I did that. And how I actually put those there is that in my HUD layout, I set up hotbar number 3 to be displayed, and I obviously don't hide. I don't show unused slots, so it kind of gives a nice little impression that those buttons are floating out there for a user to have access to. And then within the character configuration, hotbar settings, I can turn on and show, in this case, hotbar 3 right there. If you're ever curious and you weren't aware to be able to share different hotbars or different cross hotbars, you can do so in this section as well, which is really handy. What sharing means is that as you change your class or job, whatever set in those hotbars or cross hotbars is there for you across those as well. Now, setting the layout is really going to be a personal preference. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but you can also notice that down here, I've got a couple other things so that when I am in PvP, my PvP abilities are on this hotbar here as well, so that I have a general good way to access those. Now, if you're on a PS4 and you don't care to have or use the touchpad or a mouse and keyboard, that's perfectly fine. You see that I have obviously some abilities or macros and things like that I put here. That's namely because I play on a PC, but I do play on a PS4, and for the most part, I have put those there. So I'm going to go, here is just my general hate building combo. So as the Dark Knight, you can see this works really well. with the macros, and you saw that I was able to put down a salted earth, and that's namely from a change that was recently made with patch 3.2. We're on the 3.3 right now at the time of the recording, but it's been super handy because it's just been able to using ground target abilities with a controller is super user friendly. And so I'm just now building out my hate against this striking down me by pressing that A, B, and Y combo, and it's pretty straightforward. And you can see that now my salted earth is about to come up, so I'm just attacking, and then there's my plunge. When I pressed B, it went ahead and used salted earth, and I'm still in my combo, so I keep pressing B until it triggers the next combo. So playing with a controller, you're going to have to pay attention to making sure that abilities get triggered in the right order, especially when you stack, namely so that you don't end up skipping abilities or killing your own combo. But for the most part, I don't seem to struggle with that. A general tip outside of this is that whether you can or as long as you don't need to stun the boss or the target for any critical strategic reason, you can always just flip over, pop your stun off, and go from there, putting on dark side, and now getting a little bit extra throughput on that. So yeah, that's generally my hate building combo right there. Nothing too fancy. Now you got the hate, might as well go and bring the hurt. That brings into the Siphon Strike, and you can see I can either now go up or I can go left. That's what usually my general ideas and thinking in terms of it. So you saw that with my Soul Eater, I have that on a combo as well, and you saw that I pulled off a couple abilities, so I'll do that again for you, but this time I'll talk about it. So the first time I press it, it's going to use Dark Arts, going to press it again, and then it does my Soul Eater. If my Carve and Split was up, it would actually utilize my Carve and Split over Soul Eater, and they would still actually maintain that combo and go from there. So you can see that I'm able to weave in my stun. Oh, drop my Sacred Soil. Put my dot on there. If he was hitting me, I might occasionally get my reprisal. And you just kind of weave that in. Dark Arts. Boom. So with this with this setup, I'm able to bring quite a lot of DPS, at least for as far as a tank is considered, and using a controller, which if anybody's out there who really likes playing with the keyboard and mouse, being able to sit back from the PC or the PS4 and relax and play the game, that should be fairly common and fairly attractive. So this is obviously a level 60 Dark Knight, and that's really what I want to focus in on. If anybody out there wants me to make just a general controller guide for getting started and how to set up the game and how to configure a controller, just let me know, and I'd be happy to do that. So, okay, so we talked about the HUD layout. We gave a little bit of a couple little tips, kind of showed my rotation on that. We talked about obviously our HUD, and if I said HUD just a second ago, I meant hotbar. So let's go ahead and talk about these Dark Knight macros that I have configured, and if for some reason they're not viewable in the video, just let me know in a comment, and I'll be happy to actually post the code that I have set up. So hopefully that this won't necessarily be needed, but we can kind of go from there. So I tend to organize my my macros in line of thinking, like for a particular job, up and down as needed. So we talked about Dark Knight main. So Dark Knight main, let me see if I can make this any bigger. So 140%. Hopefully that is what you need it to see. Starts off with macro icon hard slash. So that's what actually gives that cooldown and that combo. If you're building your own macros, I would highly recommend making sure that you're macro iconing to kind of the main item that you want, because if for some reason you trigger an ability, this will let you know that, oh, that ability still hasn't been used, or it's waiting for the combo. So that way you would keep pressing A, B, X, Y, or one of the D-pad directions. Followed by Mercy Stroke. Mercy Stroke's on its own cooldown. It's a cross over skill from Warrior, so it's handy to have. So it's just there, so it ticks off whenever the enemy's under 20% HP. So I'm able to use that. Then you see hard slash followed by plunge followed by unmend. So what this does is that if I'm within range, hard slash is going to be used. If I'm not able to use hard slash and I'm not in range of hard slash and I can use plunge, it's going to plunge. So what this gives me the ability to do so plunge is up. Let me go ahead, select every target on the screen. So I'm not within range to use hard slash, but I can use the macro and boom, I plunge right to him and I'm good to go right there. So let me go back to the user macros and show you that. So obviously if plunge was not able to be used, I would use unmend, which is your kind of your ranged ability. Paladins have shield throw and warriors have tomahawk. So it's just that a way that you can kind of say, almost get over here and get the enemy's attention, so forth and so forth. So, okay. I get easily distracted. So that is the kind of my Dark Knight main macro. It does a lot and it gives me a lot of flexibility in what I want to do. Okay, so here's my buffed Dark Passenger. So it's gonna use Dark Arts if it's available, and then it's gonna use Dark Passenger, which is very handy and can blind the enemy when buffed. And then so when you couple that with like your Dark Dance, which gives you an increased evasion boost, you end up, and you can even buff it with Dark Arts. You can increases your parry rate. Excuse me. Then you can increase your evasion rate by 20% if it's buffed. Basically, it makes you just unhittable. It's really great especially with a lot of enemies. And then when that wears off, you have blood price on, so it's just building your MP back. That's a great way to get your MP back. That's a game tip. We're just kind of weaving those in with the macro section. You can see, let me go ahead and actually rename this because that does make sense. So Living Dead. Okay, that's fine. We'll just call it that. And obviously this says, hey, I've used Living Dead. Please heal me. I don't use that Dark Open. Okay, here's my Soul Eater, which we saw as my real big, painful one. You'll see that I've got Soul Survivor, which I'll use. It's best used, obviously, if the enemy's going to die because it's going to get you some healing. And I just kind of put it there because Soul Eater I weave it in with my other abilities and kind of go from there. You'll see Full Swing and Tar Pit. Those are PvP abilities, which if you're not in PvP, it doesn't matter. So they just get ignored. You'll see Dark Arts, followed by Carve and Split, followed by Soul Eater. And this section right here is real important because Carve and Split can be buffed by Dark Arts and Soul Eater can be buffed by Dark Arts. And if you time it right, you can actually, with the changes they made to Dark Knight, you can actually use Dark Arts, Carve and Split, wait a second, Dark Arts, Soul Eater, and you're really bringing quite a substantial amount of hurt within that period of time. Then you see my buffs. So a lot of PvP buffs here, Pushback, Tar Pit, things like that. You see Dark Mind, Shadow Skin, Foresight, Blood Weapon, Bloodbath, Enliven and Purify. Those Enliven and Purify are PvP abilities. But generally you'll see those right here. And this is a way that when used, you can just keep pressing the button. And while Shadow Skin is on cooldown, I've added those extra buffs to myself, and I go from there. All right. Okay, so last two macros that I want to highlight is the Spinning Slash. So you've got Cardinal Chill, which is good. It's a PvP ability, followed by Salted Earth, followed by Mercy Stroke, followed by Soul Survivor, followed by Spinning Slash. So that's real important. Lots of abilities here. Namely, Cardinal Chill helps kind of you protect your teammates by whoever you hit with it has a damage. They don't put out as much damage, so it's really good. I think of it as, from a PvP to PvE mindset, is that if I'm trying to tank, I want to try to mitigate damage to my teammates, and that's a good ability there. Salted Earth, you saw that it gets used when I'm using that rotation. Mercy Stroke, if it didn't trigger off of my main starter, Soul Survivor, there as well. And actually, it's not using it correctly because it doesn't have the closing quotation. So that's a good thing to catch for myself here in this video. And then finally, spinning slash. And Siphon Strike, pretty straightforward. Salted Earth, Mercy Stroke, Soul Survivor, which is not set up correctly. And then finally, Siphon Strike. So there's you have a lot of flexibility here. So if I would recommend maybe playing around with these, see what you like, see what works for you, and what you're comfortable with, and hopefully, whether you're using a controller now or not, I find it just a really great way to play this game, and it's it's really quite a lot of fun. So anyway. For fear for making this video too long and missing any points, let me know what you like about this video. If there's anything that you would like to see, any tips on tanking outside of just the controller or with the game in general. I have healers in DPS that I am looking to probably do the same, give the same treatment for a controller guide for. But if you guys have any requests or any comments, let me know what you think. And I thank you so very much for checking out this video. So let me see if I have a good, we'll just do a thumbs up. That's right. Maybe one of this, being ready for battle. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.